All right, so my name is Jasenia, and this is my externship summary. So a little about me. I am from a small town called Battle Mountain, Nevada. I completed my Bachelor's of Science in Speech Pathology at the University of Nevada, Reno. I graduated in 2019. And then in August of 2019, I attended Pacific University to get my audiology degree. A little bit more about me. I completed my 3 internships. My first one was at Rockwood Multicare Ear, Nose, and Throat Clinic in Spokane, Washington. The population I worked with was mostly pediatric and adult populations. There I saw hearing aids and balance. We did mostly diagnostic testing, so there wasn't anything other than those 2-3 things. Then for my second internship, I completed it at Salem Audiology. I did do mine in Salem and in Woodburn, Oregon. I split my time in between the 2 clinics. It was just adult populations, and we only saw hearing aids at that clinic. And then for my third and final internship, I completed it at the University of Kansas Health Systems in Kansas City, Kansas. That is where I completed my internship with a pediatric and adult population. I saw everything there. So I got to see hearing aids, cochlear implants, vestibular, and tinnitus. Honestly, anything that you could think of in our field, I was able to see it there. Right now, I'm completing my externship at American Hearing and Audiology. It's in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I am only working with the adult population. We don't do any pediatrics. That's one thing I do like about this clinic is it's the adult population only. I am seeing patients for hearing aids, diagnostic testing, tinnitus, vestibular, cochlear implants, and we also do APD testing. Our clinic does quite a bit compared to our other American Hearing and Audiology. They're based out of Kansas City, and they mostly do hearing aids, but we are the lucky ones that we get to do a little bit more in the field for this company. Again, it's only adult populations. Some of the tricks that I've learned in my externship is what hearing losses go best with what manufacturer of hearing aid. I felt that this was something that I really wish to have learned a little bit sooner in school, but I think it's just really practice and your preference. Along with learning the tricks in the fitting software for patient comfort and audibility and what you can change and manipulate to help the patient out a little bit more. My whole clinical trick of everything is I tend to make a lot of jokes and have fun with my patients. A lot of them, of course, you take those ones seriously that are there for serious issues, but a lot of the times I tend to want to have fun with my patients and kind of keep everything on a positive, light note. Nothing's really that serious, and if they find it serious, I just reassure them, and hopefully we can move on from it, and by the end of the appointments, we're friends, and everything's working out. So, patients I remember. I have so many patients. I'm luckily able to work in the private practice and be able to build and have great bonds with people, but I think my favorite patient that stands out is an older gentleman. He came in one day having retention issues, and he refused to wear retention tails on his hearing aids, and he insisted on a longer receiver wire. Unfortunately, with the hearing aid company he was in, he was wearing the longest receiver wire they made. So the receiver kept popping out of his ear, and he just wasn't liking it, and he felt that they just needed to be deeper. So really it was like a 5-minute, he didn't even have an appointment, he just walked in and I helped him, and all I did was make his dome a little bit bigger for more retention, since he didn't really want the retention tail. So I just put on a dome and looked in his ears to make sure there was nothing in there, and he was over the moon. He was so happy, and ironically, to this day, he still asks for me when he comes in. He refuses to see anyone else than me. He knows I am done with school in in my clinic in July. Ironically, we also go to the community. We do a community outreach at a living facility where he lives, so he comes and sees me there also. He was one of my first patients I saw by myself, and he thought I was just the best audiologist he's ever had, and I think that is something that I'll always remember, and he is the one I'll remember forever, because he believed in me when I was only a month into my externship, and requested me and believed in me my whole entire year being here. So I think he is one I'm always going to remember. Of course, there's so many that I have good talks and chats and you tend to get to know, but there's always that one's going to stand out that makes you feel good, and those ones are going to be the ones that stick forever, and he is definitely mine, and I'm going to miss him so much when I leave this placement, but it was fun. One mistake, actually I didn't make this one I made this mistake not that long ago, which was kind of interesting. I was completing an ABR, and we used conduction gel on our, to do our ABR we also do ECOG, so we use the gold Tiptrodes, the inserts that have gold on them, and we ended up, the equipment was being weird all before. We finally were troubleshooting it, and we got it to work, but I just assumed the equipment was kind of not working again because I wasn't getting the responses I wanted. And I was playing with the equipment. The patient was like, yeah, it wasn't very loud in their ear because we were doing a neurodiagnostic, so the clicks weren't very loud. I ended up doing something where I got it to work, and then it didn't work, so it was like intermittently working. Got through the rest of the testing and stuff, and I couldn't figure out why anything wasn't working. Turns out that my ear insert for the ABR was clogged. It was clogged with some induction gel, like some cream that we help for better impedances, and it had been clogged, making it where I wasn't getting good response on my one side of an ABR. And I think that was a huge learning moment because it was something I tried to troubleshoot in the middle of it, but of course when you have a patient who's older and who was also uncomfortable doing the testing that we were doing, I think it just came down to I got frantic and overlooked that one piece. I think it was a good learning experience because now I'll never forget to make sure the sound is coming through and everything's working. Everything worked out kind of in the end. I completely documented everything that possible, that we had equipment error along with everything else I found, so it doesn't completely disregard all the findings I found in the test and go against my recommendations, because everything I found and throughout my testing, I still would have recommended what I recommended, even if our equipment didn't fail. We attempted to get him back in just for best practices to get that test fully completed appropriately, but unfortunately I wasn't able to get in touch with him again. But I do think that is something that it happens to all of us, that there are going to be the days where your equipment doesn't work and then you don't know what you're doing because you're kind of frantic and the patient's there, and it tends to happen. I think the real lesson is as long as you document it properly and try to do best practices in the end and kind of make up and do the best you can, I think that's what truly matters in the end. It definitely was a learning moment, and now I know what to look for and just more areas to look in when it comes to troubleshooting, because I troubleshot the whole entire equipment. I didn't troubleshoot the ear insert, which was small, but it definitely does something for it, or it does something for your testing. So that was a good lesson learned. Things I wished I had known before and advice to anyone else going into their externship. I wish I would have known to complete my praxis before starting my externship. And my advice is to take the praxis as early as possible. It is hard to get that motivation back as soon as you are kind of done. So I first spent my first couple months, I think the first 6 months of my externship, just working and getting in that groove of doing the full 40 hours and basically learning everything again and being there full-time, more full-time than your internships, that it was hard to buckle down and study for the praxis. Also, you just kind of lose that motivation to go, so I definitely say take it earlier than later, because I think that's one of my biggest regrets is taking it later in my externship than earlier in my externship. And that is everything I've had to say. Thank you guys for listening, and I hope you enjoyed it.